Hey, badass business owners, welcome back to the show. Listen, today, what I want to talk about is your marketing strategy and why you need to know your customer better than they know themselves. If you've been following along, we have been diving into the E-Myth Revisited and taking some of the chapters and doing a deeper dive into them and how it benefits your business. It is the number one recommended book for small business owners to really help you grow and expand your business and to put more profits in your pockets. There's a link in the show notes if you are interested. But forget that for a minute. Let's just talk about this topic because it is very important, whether you read the book or you don't read the book. And that's what I'm trying to do with each of these episodes, is to give you a great takeaway, whether you do or whether you don't. So today we are going to talk about marketing and marketing not in the traditional sense. What I want to talk about is how important it is. And I've been saying this for years. It has nothing to do with the book, but it all ties in. You've heard other people say this on other podcasts you've watched, or other people that you've talked about. You have got to stop assuming you know what your customer is thinking or wanting, because you don't. They have a whole different thing going on inside of their mind. You've heard me say that you need to, you have to solve a pain point. And the reason that you want to solve a pain point and focus on that is because that's really what they're thinking inside. We are emotional creatures, and it is tied to a pain point that causes us to take action. And one of the things that we make a mistake of is we think, hey, you can drive by, and this one just popped in my head for some reason. Let's just say you're driving down the neighborhood and you see that they have tons of weeds and you're like, oh, they need a landscaper. Well, in their mind, they don't need a landscaper. They can go pull the weeds themselves. So you're right. They need to pull the weeds. That's actually what they need. They don't need a landscaper. So you may think that they need you, but they may or may not need you. Now, if they're in they're sick and they can't get out there, or they're allergic to the sun, or they don't have time, then yeah, now they might need a landscaper because they have to get it done. HOA's on their butt. They need to get them out of there. Now they need you. But before, if they're a capable human being and they like being out in the garden and they just haven't gotten around to it and they plan to do it this weekend, they don't need you. So you see the difference? And that's part of the challenge. Is a lot of times we want to tell people what it is that what they need. And the reality is we need to shut up and start listening a little bit more to find out what is going on. Because people have two different things that kind of help them make decisions. One is their internal messaging, what they like and what they don't like. Have you ever gone up to somebody, or you met somebody for the first time, and within the first few minutes you knew right away if you liked them or you didn't like them? When I had my ice cream shop, I would have advertisers come in all the time and try to sell me to use their stuff from a marketing standpoint. And I used to find it very ironic that these very people that wanted me to invest in their business to market with them, and they didn't even know how to talk to me. Within the first few minutes, there was no way in hell I was ever going to use them unless I felt some reason that they were going to. It was just their approach was horrible. The way they came at me, that I was stupid if I didn't use them, that this was that. Within the first few minutes, it was so salesy and so swarmy. It was like, I'm done. I don't even want anything to do with that. When the reality is, the person I ultimately had a long-term relationship with, that's not how he approached it. He came in and we were just talking, and then we were talking about business, and he got to know a little bit more about the business and about my needs and what was going on and how he could solve that. And eventually we worked together for 3 years. Big difference versus someone coming in trying to make me feel like I'm some idiot and don't know what it is that I'm doing. Yeah, no, thank you. I don't need to work with you. So you're going to have somebody's internal messages about what they like, what they don't like, and if they're going to be turned off right away, if they're not going to be turned off right away. I know as a realtor, for example, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. It might be, sometimes it's due to personality. Sometimes I don't quote unquote look the way they would expect a realtor to look. I don't drive up in some fancy car. I don't dress all fancy and whatnot. And if that's what you're looking for, I tell people all the time, if that's what you're looking for, I'm not the right person. But if you're looking for somebody who's honest, who's hardworking, who's going to communicate really well with you, get the job done, get you into a home that fits your needs, not mine, I'm absolutely the person you want. But if you're going to base it off of these superficial things, then I'm not the right person. Now, if I wanted to go after those people, then yeah, I would have to change to get past that first initial feelings that these people have. I've chosen not to in my life today to go after that. So sometimes, yeah, you do have to play the game. You do have to fit what it is that you are going after. I've made a conscious decision that that's not what I'm going to go after. If those of you that service people in higher in places, and then you've got some lower end places, two very different expectations from different people. I call myself, for example, the everyday folk. That's who I like to help. And it doesn't put one person over the other. It's just, the internal messaging is a little bit different. There's not as big of a comparison game going on. And that's how it just works out well for me. So just remember that when you're thinking about your customers and your ideal customers, you have to target your audience and who it is that you're going after, because you need to be able to market to whatever that is. And if that means you have to be nice, clean, crisp, creases in the shirts and, polished trucks and everything else, because that's the type of neighborhood you're going into, then that's what you need to do to be able to get your foot in the door to be able to do that business. And I can guarantee you that if you go into a neighborhood, gated community, $1 million homes, and you go in all raggedy and just, falling apart, tires, things banging at the bottom of your truck, vehicle, dust falling out, whatever the case may be, they're probably going to have you turn around and get back out. But meanwhile, if you take that same thing out into the desert, or into certain areas, guess what? They're not even going to blink about it because it doesn't matter to them. So love it, not hate it, like it, doesn't really matter. This is part of what's going on with your customer. And if your customer is somebody who's going to get hung up on that kind of stuff, you need to keep that in mind when you do it. Like it or not, it is what it is. The other thing that's really important, and this goes for all types of people, I don't care, rich, poor, anywhere in between, people have a craving, and that is to get answers. And they will continue to seek asking until all those questions are. Right now, I'm working with a client, for example, who has 50 million questions. And when he's done with those 50 million, he's got 50 more right behind it. And then on the other hand, I can turn around and go talk to one of my other clients who doesn't have any questions. And I'm like, you really should have some questions. And he's like, no, I trust you. Yeah, I trust you. So it's like I go from one extreme to the other just with these two people. And it's hilarious. And it's just because people crave answers. And what they're looking for, if you're not answering those questions, they're going to move on. They're never going to use you. They're making up their mind already, and you're never going to be able to do it. So unfortunately, you have to keep in mind that you need to answer people's questions in order for them to use and purchase you. Now, some of the areas that you can do and take advantage of that, this is where, for example, having a really good website, making sure that your Google page is done. The more people can do their research on your company and on you, if they really do crave a lot of questions, you know what? You have the resources for them to be able to do it. Has anyone ever called you up, wanted to use you, and then they start talking about how the fact that it sounds like a stalker because they've looked at everything online about you, they've read all of your reviews, they've read what your bio, they've read all this stuff, and you're just like, okay, that right there is a flag that this is somebody who does their homework, who has questions, who really wants to understand you and wants to really understand your business. So once again, just because you know what they need right away, the reality is you don't know what it is. They need to feel comfort level. For example, if someone needs to have a water heater changed, you might think, okay, well, their basic need is they need a water heater. No, but there's some people that, I just need hot water. That's as simple as it is. I just need hot water. But then there's going to be somebody else who not only wants hot water, but they want it installed a certain way. They want it to have a certain look. They want to know that it's completely going to be clean, that it's going to have all the safety stuff, and that you can explain to them how the whole process works, and that it's going to flow a certain way. And, and sometimes it can make your head dizzy, but that's what it is that they crave. People need answers. They need to have their most basic needs met. And that's important that you as a business owner, that you are taking the time to be able to do it. You have to know your customer better than they know themselves. So the best way to do that is to really concentrate. Our goal is, I'm always talking about how you need to be in that 5-mile radius. So you need to understand your customers in your 5-mile radius really, really well. So if you happen to be in one of those 5-mile radiuses where people tend to have a lot more questions, tend to want certain things, and you need to make sure you know what their likes, their dislikes are, what they respond to. Some companies have spent millions and millions of dollars just to understand certain things. For example, there are companies that have spent so much money to understand what colors to use in their business, that what people respond to this or they respond to that, shapes, what they like, what they don't like. And if you don't believe me, think about when you've been on Facebook. It collects your history and what pops up in your timeline, what pops up on the side, things about you. If they notice that you keep doing a lot of searches on coaches and certain things, are going to pop up that kind of stuff. If you go onto Amazon and you've been looking at certain things, how many times does that stuff pop up and you're like, oh my God, that's crazy. How did they know I was thinking about that? It's because they spend so much money and put these algorithms in place to where it's a privacy issue because you feel like they're stalking you. But the reality is what they're doing is marketing 101, which is what we're talking about today, is they want to know you better than you know yourself, because they know that if they can get the right content in front of you, you're more likely to click on that. And that's where they make their money, is when you click on those ads and whatnot. So what they're trying to do is to just use what's in your brain against you. So it's not so much that they want to steal your information. What they do is they want to steal your likes and your dislikes. And what are you more likely to purchase and buy? Because ultimately that's where they make their money. They make their money from you clicking on stuff. So you're just going to be doing the same kind of thing, but in your local community, because you want to understand what makes them tick. For example, someone who has a dog grooming business, they already know that if somebody's going to bring their dog in for grooming, that this is somebody who treats their dog like one of their kids. Because more than likely, that's how they view it. At least the majority of the people bringing in their dog for dog grooming is they put a lot of value onto these animals, and they are like their children. And then right away, you've got to treat them like their children and they're like their little babies and whatnot. But you can continue to grow. And if you have a dog grooming business and you're thinking of expanding and doing different things, keep asking those questions, because that's the thing you want to do, is you want to ask questions, get in their head, ask them things about stuff. And pretty soon what you're going to do is you're going to start getting a pattern of what it is that your customers like and what they crave and whatnot. And then you can take that information and you can use it in your business, because it will help you offer the things that they're looking for. It'll help you with the add-on items or new products or services that you want to add, because you've got to get into their head. You got to find out what it is that they are looking for. You got to know them better than they know themselves, because they probably didn't even know they needed something or wanted something until you were able to get it in front of them. And that's what great salespeople do. If you think about some of the best salespeople, the reason that they're so good is because they've gotten so good into that person's head that they're able to already know what objections they're going to get so that they can answer those up front. They're able to size up. So for example, when I was using my client earlier with the 50 million questions, once I started catching on that this was going to be the way that we did it, I just started to start thinking like him so I could head off a lot of those questions, because then I didn't have to sit there and go through that process of going, why do we want to know this? Because by then I already knew it didn't matter why. It was just he had to. It was an internal need that he has. He has to have these questions answered. So the more questions I can come prepared to answer, or answer before he asks, the more he is going to be satisfied and happy, because he hears that I'm listening to him and that I am paying attention. So I want you to do the same thing for your customers and your clients. All right, I'm starting to rattle, so I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. But here's your process. I want you to make sure you understand your customers better than they know themselves. I want you to stop assuming you know what they're thinking and wanting. I want you to start asking. I want you to start remembering that there's two key factors going on. Their internal messaging, what they like, what they don't like. You can't get past it. That is the way people are wired. But what you can do is what you do next. And how can you help them get the answers that they're looking for, the answers that they're craving, so that way you can get past whatever it is that is holding them up from making the decision to use you and your business. All right, with that, I am going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. Let's get out there. And the next episode, we are going to wrap up this whole series. I know some of you are excited about that, but hopefully, my whole mission is to take the different concepts and turn them into real life situations that you guys can run with. And I think that we have managed to do that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up, and then we will bring it to a close on the next episode. So I will talk to you then. And meanwhile, get out there, start asking questions questions of your customers. I want you to start really knowing them better than they know themselves. Make that a mission. Make that what you do at all times. Some of you guys are fantastic at that, but some of you can just fine tune that a little bit. All right, that's what I want you to do. Get out of here. Stop listening to me. I'm rambling. Bye-bye. See you on the next episode. Hey, before you go, if you're looking to learn more about your business numbers, then check out the Know Your Business Numbers course, where we take a deeper dive into the key numbers, the calculations, the reports that will help you take your business to the next level. My mission is to help everyone love their business numbers. Yes, even including those of you that hate math. So much profit is hidden inside of your business numbers, and I want you to create some awesome profits. So check out the link in the show notes or head on over to the knowyourbusinessnumberscourse.com. Once again, knowyourbusinessnumberscourse.com. Come join me. Let's go ahead and work on building your profits.